You see them online, real estate entrepreneurs. But how are they doing it? And what are they doing different? We've got the answers. This is the Real Estate Block. Interviewing real estate entrepreneurs doing consistent real estate deals. If you want to be a real estate entrepreneur, or you're already in the business, we've got on the pros that give the secrets and strategies to make it happen. This is the Real Estate Block, and this is your host, Aaron Gaunt.
All right. Welcome to the Real Estate Block podcast, where we ask our guests the hard questions by taking a deep dive into their real estate business, by looking into their teams, marketing strategies, systems, and processes on how they've built a machine that spits out consistent deal flow month after month. Well, the value given during this show will help you find and create consistent real estate deals. Today, I have my good friend, Zack Booth. Welcome, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, Zack, I mean, I know a little bit about your story, but some people that might be listening, and also give me a little more insight on what your other business anyways, tell us a little about who you are, what you did prior, and why the heck did you even decide to get in this crazy world of real estate?
Yeah, well, I was sick of being broke, right? I think all of us kind of get to that point where the pain of going to the same job, doing the same things, having the personal responsibilities, a lot of times it's your family. And for me, kind of get a little vulnerable. I think a lot of times men have a hard time feeling worthy of love if they don't provide in a way they want to for their families. And I was dealing with that a lot. I was frustrated with myself because I built a window cleaning business for a decade, for 10 years. Started that business when I was 17 years old. I had employees and trucks when I was in high school. I was writing work release hours for myself, getting school credit for running a business. And, it was, from the outside looking in the beginning, it was fine. It was great. I had 10, 20 grand in the savings account. And then I decided to get married, and I ended up marrying a Brazilian girl, and I had to pay for immigration, and I was trying to go to school, and I was doing all this stuff, and life was just kicking me. And then my wife got pregnant, which is a huge blessing. But the day my son was born, I couldn't pay the bills. I couldn't pay the medical bills.
Right.
And I remember being in such a bad space emotionally, because it was like the most beautiful experience watching my wife give birth. And I couldn't even enjoy it. And I was so mad at myself that I couldn't focus on what mattered, which was the moment, them. And I was like, how the hell am I going to pay for this? How am I going to, if I can't even pay for the medical bills, how am I going to feed them? And how am I going to put diapers on them? And how am I going to pay for a house? And how, we were, I had bought a duplex. We were living on one side, but it was small, and I had tenants, and it was just, I just felt really sorry for myself. And so I started listening to podcasts like this. I started listening to books. I finally got sick and tired of being stuck in the same space that I hated anyways. I hated all my employees. They all hated me. I had tons of turnover. No one aspired to be a window cleaner. We'd turn, like, every winter, everyone would quit, because it's cold. I don't blame them. I quit. And so I wanted to get into something different. And that's kind of what pushed me to go into real estate, was ultimately just the pain, just being frustrated and sick of it.
Wow. No, that's one part of the story. As much as we've talked, I haven't heard of that. And, there's so much. So I guess Karen married you to come to the United States, huh?
She married me. I joke with her all the time. I was like, babe, you're so hot. I'm like, man, I only married you for your looks, but I know you married me for my money. And she's like, shut up, you were so broke. I was like, I know, we were so broke, huh, honey? And we laughed, and she's such an amazing person.
Yeah.
But yeah, she, man, we went through so much together in the beginning. I remember we fought over a $20 DVD player the first year married. She bought a DVD player, and I was like, we don't have money for that. All right, for that. What are you doing?
No, isn't that, those are the best women to have, especially when you marry them and you're with them. I'm so glad I met Michaela prior to real estate. when we were down and out in debt. And then she obviously was through it all, just like Karen was with you through it all. And they're going to stick around, right?
Yep. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, brother. And I love that. Okay. So you're kind of going in, I know a little bit of the story with this individual about rentals and stuff like that. So, I mean, you decided to listen to podcasts, you listen to some books. Sounds like you house hacked a duplex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So sounds like your first deal. I mean, what was your next deal and how did you get into where you're at now?
Yeah. So the evolution of like ultimately kind of where I am now, right? I have a $1 million wholesaling business. We wholesale properties, flip. I have rentals. I even teach other people how to do this, TikTok and a podcast and YouTube and all that stuff, right? But to get to that point, it wasn't a straight shot at all. It was not easy. But the big thing, what happened was I tried flipping a house and I actually lost some money because what I wanted to do is buy more rentals because the rental I got was awesome, right? But then when I had my boy, I was like, okay, I need a personal place. I want to settle down. My wife didn't want to deal with tenants coming and going from our duplex. It was just crappy situation. So we bought a little house. I fixed it up, but then I wanted to go buy a rental, but now they want 25% down, 30% down. So like, okay, I don't have that money right now. I was making like $5,000 a month as a window cleaner. I everything I had and then some just to take care of the family. And so I was like, okay, well, what can I do? And I was like, well, let's try flipping a house. And I tried that and that sucked. I remember I was there Christmas Eve morning swinging the hammer and I was like, this absolutely blows. I better make a fortune. I lost like $5,000. I was like, okay, never again. I hate flipping house. I still hate flipping house.
Well, dude, sorry to interrupt. When you came to our wedding and you were like, dude, you need to get into flipping. And me and Michaela like looked at each other and we're like, well, we're never gonna get into flipping. It's not just something. It's just something we don't want to do. And then we went on like a travel trip and we're like, hey, let's see how Zach's doing. We listened to your podcast. We listened to like an episode and we heard you just totally got like screwed on like a flip with this guy and we're like, oh, Zach, why were you telling us at our wedding last time to flip house? Anyways,
listen to me. Don't flip houses, guys. Wholesale. Dude, it's funny because that was actually one of the biggest losses I've ever taken this year. I lost over $100,000 on that deal.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that sucked. What's crazy though is I could lose $100,000. It just blows my mind.
Right.
But yeah, that sucked. And there's a lot of reasons for it. And I learned a lot of things. It was great to learn. Learning can be expensive though. Expensive. That's why I learn from other people. But yeah, I lost a lot of money on that flip. But yeah, and then I lost money on that first flip. And I was like, okay, well, there's got to be a better way, right? And I wanted to buy more rentals. And I heard about a thing called wholesaling, where you could find deeply discounted properties and pass them on for a finder's fee. And I was like, BS, too good to be true. If it is possible, it's shady, right? You're stealing people's equity. There's no integrity there. Like,
yep.
I don't want anything to do with it. I ain't going to make money if it, at the cost of other people. And so I was still looking, right? I was still looking. And what had happened is I was out washing windows for a super wealthy guy. His name was Stan Nielsen was his name. I wonder if he's still alive. He was about 80 years old at the time. And I was cleaning his big old mansion, right? I was washing his windows. And I got talking to him, found out he's a real estate developer. He was a sharp guy. He had two multi-million-dollar developments going at the time.
Wow.
And so I was hearing all about his story, how he'd retired as a civil engineer in his 30s. And it just, kicked butt. And I was like, man, that's so cool. If I could just get 2 rentals this year, that'd be amazing. And he's like, oh, that's convenient. I got 2 I haven't collected rents on in 4 months. I don't want to deal with them. You want them? I'm like, yeah. And like right then and there, he pulls out a piece of white paper and we signed a contract because I couldn't buy them. They're like $500,000. I didn't have the ability to get a loan or anything. And so he was the bank for me. I would make payments to him. He wrote the agreement on a piece of blank white paper. And I was like, whoa, don't we need like attorneys? Like, well, hold on, trying to talk him out of it. He's like, no. And he like educates me on the process, take it to the title company and make sure it's a good deal. Talk to talk to a real estate agent. We'll close in 2-3 weeks when I get back from vacation. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I go back to my wife and we're talking about these deals and I show it to a real estate agent and they're like, yeah, dude, you're getting a great deal. And this is what it could rent for. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I buy the properties and I turned around and sold them the next year. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have. I should have held on to them, but live and learn.
Do you ever look back on those properties and see how much they're worth?
Dude, I don't want to do that to myself. I have with some of my other ones, right? It's not the
Right.
only time I made that mistake, by the way. But anyways, I sold them, and I made over 6 figures, right?
Wow.
Selling those properties. And I was like, whoa, like maybe this deal of a lifetime thing that everyone's talking about and wholesaling, like it's real. And not only is it real, it can be done with integrity. There's a wealthy investor. He's sick of these properties. He's essentially a tired landlord, doesn't want to deal with them. And he passed them on to me because he liked me and he wanted to see me succeed. He knew I was going to succeed with him. And it was a convenience factor for him. And I was like, that's amazing. If I can find sellers like that, I can do this business because I can do it with integrity and I can sleep at night. Right. And I had that belief, and then I, got a coach and to teach me a systematic way to go about finding deals. And then it was just, in the first 8 months of hiring that coach, I did 6 figures, and then, just shy of $500,000 the next year, and then over $1 million the year after that. And it completely changed my life.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, brother. And I know your story pretty well, and that's incredible. Zach, let me ask you this. So you do those deals, and especially you as a coach. I mean, just kind of a little plug. Zach has his own wholesale and coaching company, and I literally refer everybody to him because he's the most honest, genuine individual. So enough about his coaching company. Back to no. But seriously, this is what you will talk about to, I know, your students all the time is, the first time to get a deal, and you have this pretty cool thing you do at your office, right? By moving their pictures from not having a deal yet to the, what do you call it? The success wall?
Success wall.
Right?
There's 2 walls, right? There's the student wall that many of my students lovingly call it the loser wall. I didn't name it that. That's just kind of the name it has.
You're a loser when you snow.
I thought it was hilarious. People started calling. I was like, guys, you can't say that. You can't say that. So, and then the wall out in the main lobby where, when you first walk in, I have, everyone's pictures that I've helped get their deals and make money. So,
right. And that's incredible. I mean, it's kind of like tangible to really put your all into these individuals. So, but when you talk to your students, and to add value on this podcast, is how did you go and what do you tell your students when they are able to get their first deal? And then we all know there's this in-between period where it's a struggle, doing a deal here and there, right, to doing consistent deal flow.
There's a couple factors here. First off, I think it's an inevitable process. You have to go through it, right? Because what happens, right? Like let's just break down what we do as wholesalers first off, so people can grasp this concept that you're talking about. So what we do is we go out and do marketing. My favorite strategy is driving for dollars. That's what I teach my students, what I do myself. Right? So we go out and find these ugly houses. Why are we looking for rundown ugly houses? It's because the people that, are willing to sell them at a discount, they want speed and convenience over price. It's a thorn in their side. For example, Stan, right? He hadn't collected rents in 4 months. His grass was as tall as my waist. And there was siding that had come off the one side. And then there was a rain gutter that was down. And he wasn't collecting rents. He wasn't going to go fix crap either, So that's what I'm looking for is physical signs of neglect. And then I reach out to those people and see if they want to sell. There's a couple reasons I do it this way. Yeah, it's a little bit more work than going and buying a list, but no one has the list I go create. Mm-hmm. And when you're starting out, you're fresh, you don't have $10,000 a week to spend on marketing. Right. This is kind of how I got my foot in the game and blew up. Right. And it's what I teach my students as well, because it's how you can compete even in California and these competitive places. And so
exactly.
It's not that I think driving for dollars is cool or it's good marketing for my coaching. It's just what works, And so that's what I do. And so think about this. You go out and you drive and you do some cold calling, you send some postcards. Well, now you have a bunch of leads that people are like, I want to sell. Now you got to go meet with them and you got to talk to them and you negotiate and you got to follow up and there's back and forth. Well, you quit marketing as hard as you were in the first 2 weeks. So all of a sudden your lead flow's doing this, right? You're like, I don't have any leads and I'm done working the leads I have. So I'm going to go out and do some marketing, right? And then all of a sudden your leads come up and then your leads go down, your leads go up, and your leads go down, your leads go up, and your leads go down. And it's like feast and famine.
Yep.
Right? You got $40,000 in your bank account, and then you got $5,000, and then you have $100,000, and then you have $10,000, right? And the biggest thing that I found is as soon as I got that first deal is I understood this because of my window cleaning business. And this is kind of the same thing for any business is you should automate the things that you don't like doing.
Right.
So I immediately hired someone to do some of the systems and the marketing because I'd way prefer to go talk to sellers. I don't like doing any of it, honestly. I like going and fishing and coaching, and hunting. That's what I like to do. But I like to pick the first thing I don't like and automate that process. Get a very simple core process and an outline of what needs to be done. And that's one of the big things that I give my students is a systematic approach to consistently generate leads. Because if you have the right amount of leads and you can measure exactly what needs to be done to get an exact amount of leads, all you have to do is just keep dumping a little bit more gasoline on that fire. And as your business scales systematically.
Right.
So hopefully that answers your question.
No, that does, dude. And I mean, you're the one who I would actually say, I'm not even share this one thing on my show, is your coaching program was what helped me get that consistent deal flow. And it's literally what I want the show to be about, is how do you get real estate deals every single month? I mean, that was a struggle for me when I first began. And it was, you're right, we send a little direct mail, pull a list, and then you realize that everybody's calling this list or texting, whatever it might be. And I just remember I looked at my wife and I said, at the time girlfriend, I said, hey, I was like, we need like a list that no one else has. Where can we find this list? And it was Driving for Dollars. And yep. I saw your thing coming across our feed or social media, wherever I found it. And I was like, dude, I gotta sign up for this course. Signed up for the course, learned everything about Driving for Dollars and the systematic way that you teach. Dude, and it's been beautiful ever since then. We were able to start doing consistent, right? Doing that 1 deal a month, right? Then the 2 deals a month. I think we're still getting, and I'll be honest, we don't do Driving for Dollars anymore because you're right. It got us to a point where we're able to spend a little bit more on more like online and stuff like that. But we were able to, we're still pulling deals from our very first Driving for Dollars list. Like they're still, because we still market to it. And we're still pulling deals from it. I mean, it's the best list. Nobody has it.
I love it. So think about this though, because one of the reasons I love Driving for Dollars, and you're right, there's other ways to do deals, but a lot of those other ways, your profit margin's actually lower, right? For example, with Driving for Dollars, I have to spend anywhere between 10 and 19 cents to make $1. So I'm getting like an 80 to a 90% profit margin after my marketing. Right. So that leaves me a huge margin to pay employees and to dump even more money back into the business and scale it. Where with for radio, for example, right? We do a ton of radio. Like everyone's calling me or texting me, Zach, I heard you on the radio. It's like,
oh, really nice.
we're running on 5 different stations. We're running 60 ads a week or something per station. We're blowing up the radio, and we're doing a lot of deals from it, right? And we're doing deals from lots of other things as well. But the thing is I spend 3 times more per deal with these other channels than I do Driving for Dollars. Right. So it's a smaller margin, but I have a team that can service the leads. It's fine. Right. And I have the marketing dollars. I have tens of thousands of dollars to spend per month. But in the beginning, that wasn't the case. Right. And it's really hard to scale when there's not a lot of profit margin to be able to dump back in and scale how much you spend per month. The other thing that I like about Driving for Dollars versus buying another list, or even getting a free list. Let's talk about the eviction list. Right. Let's talk about that. So I look at it this way. I want my business to be a math equation. I want to know exactly what it takes to get the result I want. Right? For example, you want to have a fit body. Okay, I need 200 grams of protein. I need 180 grams of carbs. I need 70 grams of fat. And I need this body workout movements. And I'm going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger in 3 years. You know what I mean? That's, right. I want a systematic approach to anything I do because I don't want to waste my time. And what I found with any kind of a business, I'll go back to window cleaning, very simple example. I learned that I had to knock on a certain amount of doors to get a certain amount of answers. And of those answers, I would get a certain percentage of people that would let me do a bid. And of those bids, I knew that I could close X amount. And of those that I could close, I could get this many contracts. So I just understood that I just had to knock for a certain amount of hours to get a certain amount of clients so I could feed my crews.
Right.
Right. And the same thing with real estate. I needed to figure out a way that I could systematically go hustle my leads in a systematic output of volume so I could grow and scale a business. And the problem that I started with, because I started with eviction and probate and some of these other lists, and I even tried PPC, but I didn't have the money for it. I put like 30 grand and never even had a lead, right? That sucked. That was mostly on credit cards. So that was painful. And that was in the beginning. But I found that like I could do some deals off the eviction list, but the main problem is there was only so many evictions being filed.
Yeah.
So now I have to go buy another list to try and scale my business, right? Because it's like, okay, I get one deal out of 5,000 evictions or something, you know? Okay, well, what if they only file 5,000 evictions in a year? Well, I can do one deal a year. Like, how do you scale a business on that? You can't, right? But with driving for dollars, it's like, oh, I need more deals. Okay, go drive more. Like,
Oh, it's literally the quickest way to find a deal, and I'll preach it to the moon, just like yourself. And that's why anytime anybody asks me, "Hey, can you coach me in real estate?" knowing that I don't do that, I always point everybody right to Zack Booth, because if you want a deal super quick, not just quick but consistent, dude, driving for dollars. If I could go in my car, if I lost everything right now and I needed 40 days, no, I'm just kidding. No, and if I lost everything right now, I could go out and find a deal. I mean, it's as long as you put the sweat equity in it. And so let me ask you this, Zack. What does your team look like now to get that consistent deal flow and to continuously drive for dollars?
Yep. So I have Miguel, who runs all of my systems and all of my marketing. So he does a lot for me. He's a rock star. He's Brazilian. I met him when I was living down there. Great guy. So he pulls all the phone numbers off of our driving for dollars list and uploads it into the cold calling platforms. He does all of our texting to our driving for dollars list. He pays all the bills for me, right? Which is nice. He puts together all my numbers, all my KPIs, sits in with my bookkeeper and helps with the bookkeeping. So he runs a lot of the day-to-day stuff that I absolutely hate, right? It's his skill set. It's my enemy. So he does a lot of that. And he even drives for us. He's really our only driver.
He's incredible. Yeah.
It's incredible. It doesn't take that much time to drive. Most people think you need like this giant team to do $1 million business. You really don't. He has someone that helps him drive time to time if he gets too busy with other tasks that I give him. So we have someone that he knows that will help him out every once in a while. And then I have Hayden, who's my acquisition manager. And he negotiates $1 million a year. He does all the acquisitions, all the dispositions. He's a rock star. And we've had different times where we've had different acquisition managers that have helped. And, we've worked in a couple different markets, and, we're doing a few deals in different markets right now. Nothing crazy, just here and there. And then I have 3 Filipino cold callers. That's it. That's my entire team. It's very small. It's very lean, but for me, I don't want it any bigger.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that I want to be able to cherry pick my favorite ones. And the bigger I get, the more I'm dependent on the cash flow and dependent on, pulling cash out of every single deal we do instead of just cherry picking and keeping as many as I want. So.
Gotcha. And as long as I've known you, you've had this team, this core team. So kind of talking about a real estate wholesaling team, how have you been able to keep this team? We all know that people always talk about scale, and which means almost creating a team. How are you able to keep this team when we know a lot of team members are high turnover?
Yeah. So I want this to be really clear. If you have a ton of turnover, it's your fault. So I hired my first employee when I was 17, right? I'm 33 now. I'm going to be 34 in March. And I've, this is not exaggeration. I've had over 200 employees in my life, right? Because I was window cleaning, I was churning. I had like 13 employees at a time, and I'm churning. I think the average time was like 6 months. So just think about that, dude, just for years.
Yeah.
I don't even remember all the names of people, right? Like, I'm gonna suggest a book for this to start, right? And I know I've had you read it. So it's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It's an incredible book. So I've heard it said this way too. Like, if you want to attract a special person, right, a spouse into your life, everyone's like labeling like everything they want their spouse to be. The funny thing is, though, is like you're not going to attract that person unless you're the type of person that would attract that person. And one of the laws of leadership in that book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, is called like law of the lid, I think is what he calls it. It's essentially the law that states that you will only be able to attract a certain level of person depending on the type of leader that you are. So developing yourself is actually a huge, huge, huge part of business. And, it's one of the reasons I love business is it forces me to try and be a better person. It forces me to look within myself and try and find flaws so I can fix them, and try and be vulnerable enough to be better. And the cool thing is I finally discovered that I was building something and it wasn't mine. I thought I was building my business. It's not. It's not my business. I'm a steward of the business, right? It's my responsibility to grow and scale the business to bless, my life, but more importantly, my family's life, right? The employees' lives and their families' lives and the clients' lives that we work with, right? And the investors that lend us money and everyone in the title company and the real estate agent and the contract. It's actually funny. The lady that's here cleaning, we helped her with her house. They were caught in a weird situation with needing to sell the house that they didn't want to sell. The house had fire damage. They made them move out. And so they had a property they were renting, but then they had the secondary property. So the government was going to take their house from them essentially, or force them to sell it because they're going to lose their financial benefits. So I went in and remodeled their house, covered the costs, did a lease option back to them. They exercised the option, bought me out. So
nice.
Yeah. So they kind of family friends now. So they help out, but yeah, they're good people. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? Like it's all about building something for everyone else because then it's theirs. They treat it like it's theirs. And that was a big shift in my understanding. So it's very interesting because I find myself juggling. How do I make a business profitable? And how do I make this business serve people? How can I structure this? How can I structure compensation? How can I structure the processes of this business so everyone can have what they want? And when I go to hire someone now, a lot of the times it's more about what are your needs? What do you want? Why do you want that? What can I do? Is this a fit? It's just kind of like when I talk to a motivated seller and I try and figure out like what their needs are and can I come up with an offer that fits their need and make money at the same time? It's the same thing. I'm not just trying to put butts in seats. I'm trying to build something that serves each individual person. And there's a few other things that I do, but I think that was like one of the main shifts that's allowed me to hold on to people and have them grow a business like it's their own.
No, I love that. and that's a big question. I'm going to add that to my question. So, because my biggest thing coming up this next year is going to be culture. And I've said this over in a couple times in a couple of these episodes, but it's going to be definitely culture. And one thing we started the year off was a vision board. They created something on the Canva instead of doing like a bunch of cutout. And then what they did, we printed it out on Canva through Canva. And then I put in like a little picture frame and it's on everybody's desk. And I have a short description of all their visions and what they want to accomplish. And also I'm working on doing a lot more one-on-ones. And the reason why I bring that to my mind is because just like you said, like talking to like a motivated seller is what do you want? Because my TC is going to want a little bit more, obviously totally different things from my acquisition guy or a dispo guy or whatever. Even all my virtual people, I'm always asking what do they want? They had to create a vision board as well. So I love that.
Yep. It's huge.
Zach, let me ask you this. What are you doing now? I know you do Drive for Dollars, but what kind of marketing are you guys doing right now in your business?
Yeah, so Drive for Dollars. And then we pull some other lists as well to supplement that list.
What list are you guys pulling?
We've been doing a pre-foreclosure list, which I hate. I hate pre-foreclosure. I hate the list because I hate the leads. Because what happens is you have people that need every dime, yet they need an investor to help them.
Right.
And so it's such a freaking weird and frustrating dynamic. It's not a list I like. It's because it's not the type of sellers I want to work with.
I want to share something. Yeah. And also it's a great list. But you're right. They procrastinate, and that's another thing. So they procrastinate a lot. And I literally this beginning of this month, dude, I left a contract. Can't talk today, can I? I locked up a contract. Dude, sweet deal. I was like, all right, this is going to be a 6-figure deal. So Tuesday came around. We sold the deal for 120 grand, right? It was like, one of those like, heck yeah, we're gonna have a good dinner next month, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, we found out through escrow that the property was already sold in auction on my literally like a week and a half ago on my birthday. So he decided to solve that problem before it went off to auction. So anyways, you got to stop the auction when you go into when you have a pre-foreclosure property.
Yeah. So that's one of the lists we do. We're pulling, eviction and probate and all the other lists that are small and niche. I spend enough money on them that one deal a year is fine. Like we pull 1 or 2 deals a year off of some of those lists. Same problem I had before. There's money there, but very, very little.
Right.
And because there's very little money to be able to spend. But we text, cold call, and postcard the list. We do a few other things. We've started doing trailers and trailer parks. That's been an interesting one. Nice. I've learned a ton. We made like 115,000, I think, is the numbers we made last year in trailers and trailer parks.
Oh wow!
So not bad, because I think we only spent like $8,000 or $9,000 in marketing. So that was a cool little niche that we'll probably expand on this year. Try and triple it.
Are you looking to take those down yourselves, or are you just wholesaling them?
We flipped a couple. We're flipping one right now. We're remodeling it. I have a general contractor now that I love. She's so funny, dude. I tell her she's my adopted sister.
Oh, really?
She's so freaking funny, dude. So funny. But yeah, she's been awesome and a huge addition to the team. She's helped out a ton. She's great with all my rentals too, and it's just nice to have someone I can depend on. That's been one of the biggest struggles with scaling flipping is having that subsection that's the subs that you need that you can trust and depend on, like your own team, right? She now comes to my team meetings. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she's very much involved, but she's great. So we're feeding her flips. So we like flipping trailers. They're fast for the most part. They're small. There's different risks there. There's some frustrations there. One of the biggest issues is each trailer park. So imagine doing flips all across the country and you only do 1 flip per state per year, right? Every trailer park has its own regulations and lot rents and reselling requirements and application processes. Each trailer park is its own unique market, right? Because every market, there's sub-markets. Each trailer park, its own market. It's a nightmare, dude. I had a trailer park cost me over 20 grand on a deal because the buyer was going to pay cash, and the person came in and said, or the park said, well, the person buying it's buying it as a rental. I was like, what are you talking about? She's buying it for her daughter to live in it while she goes to college. It's like, yeah, but the person living there is not on title, so we won't allow it. And I was like, dude, and then our next offer came in 20 grand below that. So yeah, so that was frustrating. So
you're talking me into it.
Oh, dude, stay away from trailers and trailers. I just have a team that'll do it. So I'll do it.
Is that why you continuously pursue these trailers? Because you have a team? I mean, why else would you want to keep pursuing it if it was such a headache?
Because I spent 10 cents to make $1.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. And, I'll step in and deal with some of these problems. Like at this point, most of my time goes into coaching and helping other people. And I step in and look at flips, and I step in and look at my rentals. I probably spend more than I have been in the past. I probably spend 15 hours a week in my real estate business. So it's not like I'm spending a ton of time. It's just a lot of it is it's new. A lot of it is I'm learning, and anything new and anything that you learn is uncomfortable. And yeah, so it's been good though, because it's also given me more experience in that area. But I'm kind of going through everything that we're doing that's kind of different that we've done so far this year. Yeah, those are some of our main focuses for sure.
Awesome. Zack, let me ask you this. In your real estate business, and I actually want to touch on your coaching business here in a second, but in your real estate business, what would you say your number one struggle is right now?
I'd say a big part of it is a shift in the market. I think we're 1,000 times better now than we were 3-4 months ago.
Right.
Like we did, I think we did like 80 to, I can't remember the exact number. I think we did like 80 to $100,000 in revenue in December, which is what our average actually is. But that's not what we got the 2 months before that. We got our butts kicked, right? Like we lost, I think I lost a little bit of money the 2 months before that, just a little bit. I almost broke even, but I didn't. The frustrating part there for a few months is interest rates went through the roof. Days on market were just increasing every day. Like nothing was selling, right? Because everyone's ability to buy at what they price. So the houses were chasing until they started selling. So inventory was increasing every day. You had, and then the interest rate would go up, and then the interest rate would go up, and it would just keep chasing and interest rates. And so all of the sellers, they knew that it's never been a better time to sell your house. My house is worth gazillions of dollars. And the flippers are like, my flips are sitting there for sale. I'm screwed. I have a buddy of mine that I love to death that's been on my podcast. I think he lost like $2 million on his flips.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that he had. He had over 50 properties in his inventory that he was selling, right? Stud. I mean, he could eat $2 million, right? Like, that's what he eats that for breakfast, I think. The guy's an animal, right? Love the guy. I go to him when I need counsel. But, it's been kind of a weird thing because anytime there's a shift or a change, you're pivoting and changing. So that was really unique, but it's finally getting to the point where houses are selling again. People have found those comps. We have 2-3 months of comps at 8%. So now flippers are a little bit more confident. It's like, oh, it could sell somewhere around here. We actually have comps at that interest rate. People are a little less scared. Plus, the sellers are starting to realize that the sky is not rainbows and butterflies anymore.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that was a unique thing. Losing over $100,000, dealing with litigation, suing a guy for stealing from me, and I've never met a more dishonest, disgusting human being in my life, and I went into business with him, so it's my fault. So yeah, I made a lot of mistakes this year. It sucked.
Was that the flip that we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I mean, I did well. I think we grossed this year like $900,000. So we like $100,000 less than the year before in my real estate business. With some of the losses, I probably made about 10% less profits this year than I did last year because of the mistakes I made, which sucks too.
Well, that's the cool thing. You're still in your business, so that when you're doing your coaching, you're able to kind of help out. And that's what you did for me when we were coming up, is you were able to really help us along the way when we knew, because again, when you get to a certain point, a lot of the same objections, if you should stay in like one niche, right? So wholesale, let's say wholesale, you kind of knew how to coach us through every single scenario. And just for my audience to know, Zack actually coached me and my wife for a year, really focusing on our KPIs, building the team out. And it was a great investment to get us to where we're at today. But no, that's still cool that you're still doing your business, right? We see a lot of people who are pushing coaching programs, but not actually doing the business. So
yeah, that's a huge mistake. I mean, I coach, and a lot of people are like, oh, that's such a turnoff. Like they're just pitching Zack's program. Like that's not what this is at all. I want to add a lot of value. Let me just say this: like the professionals, the people that scale and have success, they have advisors, they have coaches. I have coaches, multiple coaches right now. I have coaches for my employees. Right. And I do this because if I want to scale fast, I want a systematic step by step, and I want someone that's been there and done that. So if the coach you're looking to hire, right, is not in the trenches, that doesn't understand exactly what you're doing and how to do it, it's the last person you want. I have I think he's 23-year-old coach right now. The guy's a freaking rock star. He's coaching me in my TikTok platform.
Oh,
because
there
I
you go.
TikTok for my coaching, and the kid is an animal. He's an animal. Like, he is so good, but he's doing it himself. He's testing it himself. He's making money himself, by using his TikTok platform and whatnot. And he's an animal. It has nothing to do with age, has nothing to do with your looks. It doesn't matter what car they drive. I promise, guys. Like, if you're like, oh, he has a car, I'm going to hire him. Like, that's not going to get you anywhere, right? It's he consistently having results for himself and with other people. That's the person you want to work with.
Right. Well, Zach, let me ask you this. So, I know exactly the 2 months you're talking about when we all felt the market shift, and that's kind of, I would say, our lowest month as well.
Yeah.
So what did you do, and what do you plan on doing and such your strategies to get through this recession and then coming out even stronger and better on the other side?
A lot of the things, the same thing as I was doing before, right? One thing that I have going for me is I have past data of what I've done and what's worked, and I continue to measure the work that I'm putting in and the results that I'm getting from it, and I'm getting rid of what's not working and doing more of what's working. Some personal goals that I have for myself, though, is actually to double my wholesaling business this year. Right? I really feel like there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, a massive, massive opportunity for people that got through this recession. In my opinion, we're through.
100%.
My opinion, we're through.
Okay.
Because if you still, so I'll give you an example. I think there's six companies here in Utah that I know of that are doing over $1 million a year. 2 of them went out of business. And they went out of business because they were over leveraged. They had a ton of flips. They took on a ton of debt, and they couldn't cover a 20% loss.
Right.
So when they couldn't pay people back, they filed bankruptcy and they're out. Right. So I didn't have that problem. Right. And I actually didn't even lose any money on any of my flips. I made a lot less than I thought I would. But I bought at a much, much lower, and the only thing I'll touch as a flip is if I have at least a 30% margin, right?
Gotcha.
Because, some of the biggest hit markets in 2008 were 20 to 25%. So that was my cushion, right? Is I wanted to like very conservatively have at least a 30% margin in here. So if I got to sell it at a break even, and I can. So that's a big part of it. The other thing too is, with these interest rates that have gone up, they might go up some more. And if they do, that's fine. The biggest thing is there's going to be more and more and more sellers that actually need our support. So our cost per lead, how much we have to spend per marketing, will actually drop. Right. And there will always be money. There will always be buyers. There will always be investors. Right. And so people are like, oh, well, when the market's down, there's no buyers. It's like, no. There are buyers. There's a ton of buyers. That's when the buyers that know what the hell they're doing are actually buying. I know a lot of guys that have been sitting on the sidelines for a few years. Right? I have access to all the money I need to do as many creative deals as I want. I fully expect to cherry pick somewhere around 50 rentals in the next 3-4 years.
Nice.
So I haven't been buying as many. Like, I only bought, I think, 2 rentals last year. But I fully expect to buy 3 or more this year, but then I'm going to start probably buying 10 to 20 per year after that.
That's awesome.
Because there's going to be a lot more opportunities where people are upside down in their mortgage. Because think about this, right? If someone bought a house 2 years ago at 5% interest at a high price, right? And it dropped 20% in value. Well, they probably only put 5% down because they got a, FHA or conventional loan. And it dropped in value because interest rates went up. They can't refinance. If they can't make their payments, they get laid off from their job. They need to move for employment or whatever that might be. They can't sell it. They can't because they're upside down. So you'll start seeing more short sales, I believe, with foreclosures. But you'll also see more people that need to do even a better option, which is to do creative financing and be a seller finance to you, the investor. So it's going to be really easy to pick up a ton of rentals. And the cool thing is, it's like, well, I don't have money to buy rentals. I don't want to buy rentals. It's like, okay, you can wholesale those.
Right.
Yeah, you can wholesale creative seller finance contracts. And so there's tons of opportunity for that in the future. So I'm pretty excited about it, honestly.
No, 100%. And that's why I have that question here. It's very interesting that you say that you think that it's over. And like I said, already coming out the other side. Now, I'm not so sure what this is going to be, right? I'm very new into this real estate game, but yeah, I guess when I looked at my wife and when we had our level 10 meeting, I always said, I was thinking more around like the end of 2023 if it keeps going. Now, we saw the same numbers like you did. December, it went right back up. People started buying again. But
can I clarify something?
For sure.
The average homeowner, the average retail house buyer, the average person that has a W-2 and a pension plan and a 401k, it's not over for them. It's just starting for them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. I feel bad for a lot of people, right? I really think the next 12 months will be pretty hard for those people. But it's already been hard for the investors. The investors have a pulse on the market and they've already taken their losses, right? They've already seen the writing on the wall and dumped their inventory at a loss as fast as they could because they knew it was going to get worse.
Yeah.
But those that have gotten through to this point, they're positioned to take advantage of the opportunity of it being a buyer's market, meaning there's more sellers than buyers, more desperate, like need to sell the house, have to sell the house opportunities out there than people that understand how to buy houses, right? As investors, we were more competing in the past for deals, and it's going to get to the point where we're going to be working together to do all these deals that are going to be around us. Like deals will be a lot easier to come across. Right. You're just going to have the education and understanding how to work them. So when I say I think we're through it, I think I'm through it. But I think the opportunity is now in front of me because we worked through it.
100%. Yeah, we're doing more deals than we were before the market changed. You're right. There was, and again, I like to say it in this way, it's a bittersweet thing. A lot of people did go out of business, less competition, but at the same time, you'd hate to see your buddies struggling and going out of business. So. Zack, let me ask you this. What have you read or listened to that just inspired you recently?
I'm reading a book right now. I don't necessarily know what I think of it right now. Here, let me pick it up here. It's called The Code to Joy. I'm like halfway through it. It's a little out there with some stuff.
Halfway through, that's about as far as you're gonna get.
I'm gonna finish it, right? But I have learned some interesting things. I'll share something interesting out of this book I've been reading. It talks about basically I'm wanting to study more mental health. I really want to understand more about myself and make myself a better person, and learn to have more control over my emotions and just general choices, right? So I can get what I want out of life. And one of the things it talks about is the power of your subconscious mind. And I kind of knew somewhat of this, but it talks about like the activity in your brain. So there's this frontal section, the prefrontal cortex, which is our command center, right? That's where our conscious thoughts reside. What we focus on, what we're talking about, what we're thinking about, that's our conscious mind. But everything else that's happening in the rest of our brain, they compare the amount of things happening in your brain of a flea to an elephant. So our conscious brain is the flea and our subconscious brain is the elephant. And it talks about how, it gives an analogy. The flea jumps on the elephant and says, hey, let's go to the beach today. And the elephant goes, we're going to the jungle, And the flea goes for a ride. And a lot of the times our lives are that way where our conscious brain says, this is what I want out of life, but our subconscious brain doesn't. And it's trying to teach how to manipulate and change the subconscious brain. And it gives some exercises that I think are a little odd.
Have you done them?
Dude, one of them, it's like, put your thumb on your one nostril and breathe in. And then take your index finger in the other nostril and breathe out. I'm like,
wife's like, what are you doing over there?
She's like, are you picking your nose, honey? So yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff, but I'm trying to keep an open mind here. But
nice.
But the scientific study stuff that I was reading in there was very interesting.
Very cool. Very cool. Zack, again, I couldn't thank you enough to take your time out of your busy schedule to come here to share some knowledge. And again, I want you to really put it out there. What your coaching program. Where can we find you? Where can people DM you? Where can people bug you to kind of just reach out to you?
Yeah. So there's a challenge. I'll mention my challenge. You guys got to watch this. If you're struggling, if you're wanting to figure out how to get started real estate wholesaling, I did a 40-day challenge because I wanted to show people what it looked like to not have a lot. So I flew across the country, so I couldn't use my team, and I only got $1,000 to spend on my business. So I wasn't living like a homeless person, right? I wasn't paying for my housing, so don't give me crap about that. I keep getting crap. Well, what about your flight and your food? And it's like, guys,
Let's be realistic.
Yeah. So a lot of you have a house, a lot of you have a smartphone, and if you have $1,000, you could go duplicate this.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, and you need a car, by the way. Okay. So I went and did this challenge. I wanted to demonstrate what it looks like to do driving for dollars and to make the average American income in just 40 days. And a little spoiler alert, I blew it out of the water. Right. And what's most important, though, is you see that it's a ton of work. There's a ton of hustle involved. But if you have a work ethic and you're already hustling and you're not making, I made 93 grand in 40 days. If you're not making that kind of money and you have work ethic, you should probably go watch it and realize there might be a better way to use your work ethic and your integrity and who you are as a person to provide a better life for yourself and your family. So go watch that. There's a quick link that you can get access to it. Like I said, it's free. It's dfdchallenge.com, dfdchallenge.com. So you can go there and catch that. Or you can go to my website if you want to jump on a call and see how I can help you guys get started. It's DFD, stands for Driving for Dollars, of course, dfdmastery.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Zack, for sharing that. And yeah, the link will be in the bio. Again, we'll see you next time here on the Real Estate Block Podcast.